Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
It's a much different feeling when you walk in with a bunch of guys that now they know they're good. And some of them, they're the same players. They're just good because they're a year into the system. And that 250-pound guy is now 280-pound guys, a 280-pound guy. So I'm an incrementalist. I believe in just getting a little bit better every year. I got great news. Nothing that happened last year carries over into this year. And that's a good thing, right? Like the Iowa loss at the end of the year was really, really probably painful, but sometimes it's the pain you need. It's the pain that spurs you forward in the offseason when, guys get a little bit complacent. And there's no complacency at the University of Nebraska right now. Our guys all understand that we've got good enough players. Well, we have an excellent roster. We're fast. We're explosive. We've got veterans where we need to. We're good on the lines. We've got great coaches. But we're going to have to go perform. And that performance comes from guys owning it and not listening to anything else, not listening to the guy in the locker room complaining, like shutting all that up and saying, hey, Husker football, it's about performance. It's about us going out there and getting it done. And so that's why I mentioned the classroom. That's why I mentioned the growth of these guys. You see a team that understands that. So I look forward to the first close game. I look forward to seeing our guys execute in it. But it's not something out here. It's about getting young people to be a little bit better each year, recruiting good players, and I think you'll see a good team this year.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, Honky, and I'm with Redcast Rob.
Well, I'm really happy to be coming back here for another season. When I first started doing this podcast, it wasn't a very good podcast, but you know what? I'm just making it a great podcast, and that's really what I'm focused on doing, bringing you guys all together, here in the off season, making sure you're doing all your workouts and, learning what you need to learn so that we can come out here and be great again.
I appreciate that, Rob. With Redcast Boomer.
Well, I'm just glad to be back as well here on the Go Big Redcast, which PJ Fleck has called one of the most dangerous podcasts in the Big Ten.
He was very kind, effusive in his praise. And I'm with Redcast Abby. Abby, do you want to make a statement?
Nope. Let's just go to questions.
Okay.
You win.
And with that, it is Big Ten Media Days this week. The Huskers were on the first day, yesterday, Tuesday, out there in Las Vegas, and that was a nice compilation there. Well done to all three of you on your Big Ten Media Day hot takes there. It's been a little while. I think I've said that the last few times that we've started a show. In fact, I've said it's been a little while, but we're going to do a bunch of more shows, and then we haven't really got to doing a bunch of more shows. And I think it was just, I don't know if it's fatigue or it was the off season. We just wanted to get through all the craziness. We'll talk about a little bit of the craziness here today. But the idea is we kind of wanted to wait till there's football, and there's football now. And there's going to be football starting next week. And that's a good thing. And so we're back.
And to be fair, it has been a relatively calm off season,
yes,
which is really nice.
Yeah, we've had to manufacture our drama this offseason, which Husker Nation does as well as any nation out there. But it's nice when you can just forget all that stuff. We're done with all the meaningless polls and all that get thrown out there. Let's just start talking football. Let's talk about the teams, and those storylines are going to be coming about here. We're just a little over a month away from kicking off the season in Kansas City at Arrowhead against Cincinnati. With a lot of Husker Nation there in the stands. It's going to be fast and furious. Yeah, we'll be down there, Rob. And
Abby will be there too.
Yep.
Look at that. 3/4 of the
right
there.
there.
Maybe we can get Boomer to leave his house.
Yeah, we'll see. It's hot out.
That could be a tough one.
Is.
Well, hey, let's go around the room for a second here. We haven't chatted in a while. I'll start with you, Rob. How's the last couple months gone for you? And the summer's over. What's up?
Well, I've been spending my time coaching youth soccer for my daughters, under 10 girls soccer. And so that's a lot of fun because, it's not about the wins and losses. The wins are, off the field when you see the smiles on those kids' faces after a good season of coaching. But no, seriously, it's been pretty exciting. I have done a couple of shows here on the side with the Inside the Pylon guys. Those guys are fantastic, really knowledgeable. Big Ten fans, I will say. And one's a Notre Dame guy, the other guy is a Ohio State guy, and I think that we can bring our hatred of Michigan together in that regard. So that's a lot of fun. As far as everything else in the off season goes, I mean, it's been pretty uneventful, quite frankly. I keep waiting for something relevant to happen. And quite frankly, I mean, it's so good that Nebraska is just so irrelevant these days.
Yeah. I mean, the roster stayed pretty calm since spring, which, I mean, right there, that's a feat in and of itself. We'll probably get to talking a little bit here today about some of the national stuff too. Boomer, I know you're always interested in what's going on with NIL and now the new $20.5 million, the NCAA settlement. There's plenty to talk about there, but in general, how's your off season gone?
Overall pretty good. Sports wise, it's, my teams are, had been wallowing in the drudgeries of their respective leagues as usual. The Canucks did nothing. The St. Kilda's back to their horrendous losing ways this whole season, so that's been exciting. Staying up late Saturday night to watch those, but otherwise, that's probably a good omen for Husker football, because when those teams are doing well, we'd always been doing poorly. So that can only lead to good things, I'm assuming. So
I'm assuming it will. And Redcasters, if you have questions and stuff, feel free to be throwing them out here tonight during this. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Abby, how about you? It's football season. It's going to be volleyball season here next week with media days. I mean, this is fall sports. I said the summer is over. It's not over, but fall sports are starting.
Yes, it's truly coming on. We've come out of the dredge of whatever June through August is for sports, and it's finally the greatest time of the year again. We get football, volleyball, and then before we know it, it'll just cycle back into basketball and baseball and softball again. This is the best time of the year. I'm so excited. I'm ready. I'm like at the perfect level of anxiety. It's the best time. I'm so excited. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's start it now.
Let's start. A little bit of a plug for next week. Is there going to be a volleyball show, or do you kind of know what you're planning to do yet with that?
Yeah, not 100% sure yet, but volleyball media days I think Jason tweeted, like, I've consumed all the content from Nebraska football media days. What am I supposed to do? Volleyball media days is coming up. It's going to be Monday and Tuesday. So Nebraska is going to be on Monday. So we'll get our first look kind of in the big media days with Danny and Rebecca Alec, and Harper Murray will be there. So if you have questions, if you want me to try to ask questions there, if you have ideas of what to say, I'll take them, send them. But otherwise, I'll do maybe a short recap video or a video from there, and to get us ready, to get us hyped up for the DBK era. Really stoked. All right.
Well, one other promo here will be Pick Six previews. Mac and I are going to do our annual preseason episode with Brett Ciancia, Pick Six previews, Heisman voter, and I think he's on an All-American voting group and everything. Anyways, August 4th at 8 p.m. Central Time. That's Monday, like 2 weeks from now. So, so we'll get Pick Six in. We'll get some volleyball next week. We're doing the Big Ten Media Days tonight. The Redcast is back for season, whatever this is. I think this might be season 10 officially of the Redcast. 9 or 10. I probably should have counted before we started. But anyways, we're back.
Boomer knows that math stuff. We just kind of hear.
Well, podcasts traditionally make the biggest leap in year 10, so we should really be expecting good stuff from here on out. So
that is what we're hoping. And you know what? That's a nice segue into the media days here. We've got some videos that I think are going to drive our discussions here, at least at the beginning. And the first video we're going to do is Coach Rhule talked about Coach Frost yesterday. And I think that this is a good way to get it. We haven't been talking about it all off season. It's one of those things, the needless drama that I don't really want to talk about, but it's out there. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to get it done and move on from it.
First of all, I have a ton of respect for Scott. And I've always been very empathetic for what he went through, because, like, this was his home. Like, if you guys fire me tomorrow, like, I'm just going to go back to Cape May and sit on the beach and go back to where I'm from. But, like, this was his home, right? And so, like, this offseason, we put up a huge picture of Scott as a player in the coach's area, because I took a picture and I sent it to Ryan Callahan down there, because I can't imagine like what that feels like for him, right? I know what it felt like to get run out of Carolina. And I would say to people, like, I don't think I took the right job for me. It wasn't the right fit. That doesn't mean it's a bad. No, I will say this. This was not a good job when I got here. Like, behind on NIL. The facilities weren't what they were. Everything was behind. Trev convinced me, like, hey, Matt, this is going to, by the time we get to the point where we're going to be able to pay players, like, this is the only Big Ten school with no debt. We're going to, like this, right now we're talking about 20.5. It's going to go up percentages every year. And we're at a place where we have the best facility in football. We have everything that we could want. We make more of an investment in nutrition than any other team in the country. I mean, look at all of our sports. Look at how they're all blossoming right now because of the investments we're making in nutrition, sports science. Like, there wasn't a sauna in the facility when we first got there. And now you got to pick between a steam room, a sauna, an infrared sauna, your personal sauna. Like, those were investments. Scott came at a time, he had COVID, he had all these different things. So I can't talk about his time. But what I can say was, this wasn't a good job. Yeah, it was not a good job. But we've made it a good job, and we're about to make it a great job. This will be one of the best jobs in the country. And, like, that's why sometimes recruits will say, like, Coach, if you win, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm gonna stay right here. Like, you know, the only thing I ever think about is getting a lake house in one of these lakes in Nebraska I keep hearing about.
So that was a minute 48, and the reason we played a minute 48 is that there was a lot of just sound bites from it. You know, it's real easy to take a sound bite or two from that, but I think when you get the full context of what he was talking about there, you know, it was very gracious, I think, in talking about Coach Frost there. I think it helps diffuse this too, and so that we can move on. It's a nonstop discussion. It seemed like all offseason, and it was really one that we did not want to get into. And this, I guess, if we were going to talk about it on a show, this is the way I'd want to do it. I'll start with you, Abby. I mean, that's, for as much as I want to talk about that, I think Rhule said everything that I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I was talking to Dustin about it beforehand when you kind of sent that we were going to talk about this. And I was like, I don't think I'm the right person for this, because I was never that offended by what Scott said at Big 12 Media Days. I just wasn't really. And part of it is because, like, you know, he's not a good speaker. So you can't take what he says literally, because he's not like, right, like, he's not trained. Matt Rhule answers that question great, because Matt Rhule knows how to talk to big groups of people, and he does it so well, and it's great. And so when Scott said that, I was just like, yeah, it was the wrong job. I don't know. It just was the wrong job. We can see that now. And, you know, hindsight teaches us a lot of things, and that's fine, whatever. So then what Matt said to me just confirmed that, like, yeah, sometimes it's the wrong job for people. And that's okay. Like, it's okay that we can say that now. And it's, you know, but I'm with him. Like, that's it. There's really no need to ever bring it up again. We as fans and the media and all of it just need to kind of emotionally heal from this, so that we can stop taking things so personally all the time. So I thought he said the great things. It just confirmed in my mind. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I, you know, and I think maybe it's just me, but I feel like I remember there being a very poorly kept secret Frost's first or second year that, like, we were a lot worse than anybody thought we were. Like, our program was in a lot worse shape than people thought, than anybody kind of knew unless you were in it. So this, to me, just kind of feels like it confirms that, like, this isn't a one coach problem. It's not a two coach problem. It's not it's not just Riley. It's not just Pelini. It's not just, it's been this string of bad decisions that have been made in the athletic department that have kind of gotten us to this place. And now hopefully we've got the adults in charge who can put their egos aside at all levels and do what's best for the football program and for the entire athletic department.
Yeah, I think probably one of the quotes that got as much of the airplay from that, and I'll go to you, Boomer, with this, it was the talk of, you know, this wasn't a good program when he took it over, and now it's going to be a great one. I guess as you heard that from Coach Rhule, I mean, what was your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess it just kind of depends how you want to look at it. You could say it wasn't a good job, and probably wasn't for everybody. One of my mantras when it came to hiring a coach here at Nebraska has always been, you've got to have somebody who's an experienced head coach. This is not a place to learn to be a head coach. It chews people up. It's high stress. It takes a lot of effort and work. And you can't learn to do that here in the modern era. And that was the problem with Frost. It was the problem with Pelini. Riley's problem was, Riley was just what he was. He wasn't going to, he'd peaked, in his career. He wasn't going to take things higher than expected. So it is the wrong job for those kind of people. And it is a tough job and a tough role for those kinds of coaches that we've tried so many times in a row. And that's, I think, where Rhule at least, fills a different spot. And you can see he's more effective in that public speaking, like Abby said. I mean, he's a more vocal defender of Frost and does a better job of defending Frost than Frost himself does. And, causes less trouble for him. So, yeah, it's a good way to just put it past us. Forget about it. If a media guy brings it up again, we'll see if Frost tumbles over it again. But, we'll see.
Well,
UCF might be in their own trouble this season, too. So we'll see. So they might have other things to worry about. So.
It's interesting to me what Coach Rhule talked about with where we were at with NIL. I mean, sometimes I think there's mixed messages or cross messages that come there. I mean, let's not forget the biggest NIL pickup of the offseason, I think going into Coach Frost last year was O'Shawn Mathis, and we got him. And that required having NIL, and so I'm not saying that it was perfect back then, but we weren't sisters of the poor. I can remember an interview that Rhule did a month into the job, and it was a national interview, and he was sitting in his old office in the North Stadium talking about these amazing facilities that we already have, and we're building even better ones. And so here's what my biggest takeaway from it was. I think that great coaches can take good programs or whatever. I wonder what Nick Saban would say Alabama was when he took it over, right? Maybe it wasn't a good program, or maybe it was just had gone through some bad situations, some bad coaches at Alabama specifically, and Saban turned that into the greatest job there is. Devaney took over a program that was not in good shape and left it, and then the way it was a championship program, and then Osborne being a new coach, even more bucking the trend than their Boomer being a brand new coach. Osborne kept it at that level despite all the pressure. And I think, Abby, one of the things where I think you and I have agreed with you on this, I think one of the biggest challenges that have happened with, it's not just Frost, it's public figures in general, where fans, and we're a fan show, so and supposedly we're influencers. I'm told that because of social following. So if we have any influence on fans, the only thing is, I find this funny. It has nothing to do with Frost. It has to do with celebrity. It's politicians. It's whoever. It's this unending ability to be able to just say whatever you want to say about them, and whether it's true or not, or everyone thinks something's true. Sometimes people, it's not the right fit. Sometimes it's not the right job. They don't succeed in it, and it can be for a lot of reasons. I'm not here to make excuses for why someone didn't succeed. I'm also not going to make up things I don't know to be certain. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, that's my feelings towards the previous regime. I'm really pleased with where we're at right now. We've always been a progress show on the Redcast, talking about where we're going. And I thought that Coach Rhule really set that forward. And maybe the biggest takeaway of all of it, and then Rob, I want your thoughts too. The biggest takeaway was the very end of it. And that is, because we make up our own drama here, what if we start winning? Not just we're going to win. We're going to go 10-2. We're going to go 11-1. We're going to start winning national championships. And then, oh my gosh, what if we lose Matt Rhule? What if he goes somewhere because he's winning national championships? Well, I even like how he ended that video there, where he talked about how I'm not going anywhere. This place has everything that a coach would need. We have no depth. The only school in the Big Ten, athletic wise, that has that. We have NIL in place now with these new rules. I'm buying a lake house, and if I don't do well, and you guys fire me, I'll move back to New Jersey and live on the beach. I mean, I just thought, I love his honesty, and I love how straightforward he was with it. Rob?
Well, I'm tired of answering questions on this topic. And, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's most important that we focus on the team that is currently on the field here for the Huskers. And quite frankly, that's exactly how Scott Frost should have answered that question. And that's my opinion on it.
And there you go. And that's the extent of what we'll talk about it. And it is time to move forward. Now, before we get into Husker football, the next video I want to show actually has nothing to do with the Nebraska coach talking yesterday. It's Kurt Cignetti of Indiana. And sometimes I'm Boomer. What's the saying? It's like the enemy of your enemy is your friend or whatever.
Yeah, that'll work. Yep.
Nobody will accuse me of being a Kirk Cignetti fan. I'm not sure. We probably all have our feelings about him, but I'm also not an SEC fan. And so let's listen to this audio here, him talking about the SEC. And also it's going to be about a minute and a half. It's full context, but he's going to talk about the SEC and then we'll follow up.
Here's the bottom line, okay? We picked up an extra home game, and we play 9 conference games. The 2 best conferences in college football, any football guy that's objective will tell you, is the Big Ten and the SEC, all right? 12 of the 16 SEC teams play 3 G5 or an FCS game. 12 of those teams play 36 games, 29 G5 games, and 7 FCS games, and 1 less conference game. All right? So we figured we'd just adopt SEC scheduling philosophy. Some people don't like it. I'm more focused in on those 9 conference games. Not only do we want to play 9 conference games, okay, and have the 4-4 championship, the playoff format, okay, we want to have play-in games to decide who plays in those playoffs. Championship weekend, let's play 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5. You want to decide that on the field, make sure everybody's strength of schedule is what it needs to be? Let's make everybody play 9 conference games, and on championship weekend, 3 will play 6, 4 will play 5. And there's still room for another at-large in that format. And why shouldn't the Big Ten have 4 AQs? Because Ohio State actually finished 4th in the conference at the end of the season. Indiana and Penn State were tied for 2nd. They won the tiebreaker. Ohio State won the national championship.
All right, Boomer, I can't think of anyone better to start with this than you. I know you're very opinionated on a lot of this stuff. And my biggest gripe has just been SEC lack of consistency. Let's all get to 9-game conference schedules and all that. But he threw out a lot of stuff there. Red meat across the board, a 4-4 college football playoff system, the play-in games, championship weekend. I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, like you said, the opinions of Coach Cignetti by the Redcast are wide and varied, but I think we'll hear other people's comments later. But yeah, that was perfect off-season, red meat for fans and especially social media. I mean, he had SEC folk triggered left and right. If you followed that on Twitter, people were shrieking and screaming and trying to point out, who they play occasionally, leaving out the Citadels and things like that in November. But he does have a serious point to make with that. And like we've always said, the system that we have makes no sense where one conference can play 8 conference games and others play 9. It just does not make sense if you're trying to, seed a postseason or do anything like that. It throws everything for a loop. You're guaranteeing more losses for conferences that play more games against each other, vice versa. Allows you to kind of rig those rankings that way. And, at first, we haven't talked about this in any of the story, one of our shows, but the whole, 4 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus whatever, playoff model. I didn't like it at first, but there's a part of me that actually doesn't hate that proposal and the way it could work. I mean, the way non-conference games are going these days anyway, nobody's playing anyone worth a darn as is. Teams are dropping things and we're not playing, we're not seeing a lot of those, and the committee is not rewarding a lot of stuff. So, I mentioned on text threads before, you might as well just drop non-conference games if you really wanted to. Just play conference games. These conferences have gotten so big, this could open something like that up. And it would actually lead to probably better games in November. That was something, the commissioner said, in media games, that he wanted to have more meaningful games in November. He doesn't want to see, SEC teams playing the, Austin P or whatever they always play in November. Mm-hmm. Let's have those late November games mean more than they currently do. I don't know if that's the perfect playoff model, but it would take a lot away from the committee. You wouldn't have to worry about, that so much of that human factor. You could know what you have to do starting a season to actually make the playoffs. Because right now, a lot of it's still just, how impressive do I look? How do we start in the preseason? What's the reputation of our conference? Things like that. But yeah, this way, you just have to finish in that top 4, and you can control that. That's something any team can control.
preseason rankings are still an issue. I mean, they lead so far into the season. The advantage you get if you're ranked by a bunch of folks that we've seen other teams in the past. FSU last year I think was preseason top 10. Speaking, I mean, as FSU, I think of them a couple years ago when they go 12-0 and playing in a ACC schedule and then having 2 SEC teams on their schedule. They beat LSU, they beat Florida, and that wasn't rewarded. So that's not being rewarded. And there's just no consistency across the board from year to year. I get where he's coming from. And again, I'm on my SEC crusade. So it's like the enemy of your enemy. He brought up very good points there from my perspective. I'll support him on this one. Abby, how about you?
I mean, look, if he is too afraid to continue to play good teams and he wants to play a soft SEC schedule, that's on him. But I am going to continue to make fun of Indiana and Cignetti for being afraid to play good teams. And look, I get it. No, I mean, it feels like it's one of those things where the old school football fan in me is just like, just play. Like, we want to see good games. Nobody wants... Sorry. Yes, it's nice to win, but like if you're Ohio State, is it really fun for those fans to watch you beat up on directional Michigan? No. In Indiana, I mean, Cignetti thinks he's got him up there. He's talking about him in terms of Ohio State. So like, what is he scared of? What? There's no advice. I don't know.
It's not like he canceled Virginia. It wasn't.
Yeah,
he didn't have a great schedule.
Virginia.
Yeah.
Come on. But I get it. And so I understand it from the perspective of like, look, the SEC, I don't want to give them credit, is doing the best thing for them because they don't have to play as many conference games. And like you said, they have fewer conference losses that way, and it benefits them. Nobody forced the Big Ten to play 9 conference games. Now, I like it. I prefer it because I also don't like this idea of playing some cupcake team in November. But like, you can't. They're playing the system. They're playing the way that they're allowed to play. And so until the playoff committee actually punishes them for that or rewards people for a good non-con.
But then I guess I would make the same. I'm not going to punish. Why would we punish Cignetti for doing what he's doing either? He's not playing a weak schedule.
I'm not. No,
he's playing the same. He's playing the same schedule. Yeah, I mean, he's playing the same schedule essentially that the SEC is playing. This is what it drives me nuts is, this is basic arithmetic and people can't figure this out, is that we're basically talking about a 9 Power 4 schedule model. That's what this, when you play, when the SEC comes out and plays 8 conference games and then they add 1 non-conference game, that's good. And they go, see, we're doing, we're playing a tough non-conference. It's like, but you're playing 8 conference games. Mm-hmm. This isn't complicated. It becomes a numbers thing. And then it becomes a narrative, but the 8 that we're playing are SEC. And that's the narrative. That's the thing that drives me nuts about the SEC is that they think they can just get away with, well, we play 8 conference games, but they're 8 SEC conference games. Never mind when Florida State played 8 ACC teams and then beat 2 SEC teams and still couldn't get in because those weren't the right 2 SEC teams that year. Apparently they weren't as good as they should have been. And it drives me nuts. And it all leads back to we have no consistency. There's no rules. Somebody posted a comment there about, get to NFL, rules and scheduling. And I'm all for it. The NFL has a commissioner in a league that oversees all this. What does college football have?
I mean, and didn't Rhule himself say that he didn't see the point to scheduling these tough non-conference games if we're going to play 9 and everyone else is playing 8? I mean, I seem to recall him saying something like that when the Tennessee series was canceled.
And it totally makes sense. And at the end of the day, I can say something that I know, Abby, you just said, and Boomer, you've been saying it. The losers in this still end up being the fans because we'd rather see the TV execs. Who doesn't want to see big time games being played? The Big Ten has the best television contracts right now. And I've seen some stats where, like, if the SEC would go to a 9-game model, just that one extra conference game, what that could do towards their contracts, that's one more big game. It's one more opportunity. There's more money that's in there. There's always unintended consequences of it. If you went away from playing FCS and Group of 5 teams, producer Skip with us, he's a big Colorado State fan. It's not great for those teams to no longer have those bye games if they don't get a play in them. the Dakota schools have built themselves up through, some of those crossover games against FCS or FBS schools. But, I don't know what the answer is. I just know that it doesn't seem like there's anyone working on the solution. It's a bunch of patchwork things where this conference does it this way, this conference doesn't that way. And you never seem to get any closer to it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just the nature of college sports, and it's been that way forever. I mean, there is no central authority. It's all these different conferences representing a bunch of different schools, and half the time the schools may not even want to be in that particular conference. Memphis, things like that we've seen lately. And it's hard to come to any sort of agreement. And for a lot of these schools, there's not really a great reason to come to an agreement. I mean, this system has been working for the SEC, except for these last 2 years, and that's why they're starting to complain about it more. And, what I think, the proposals that, they're saying for the playoff models, like what the Big Ten's pushing for, certainly would benefit the Big Ten. And that's kind of what we expect our conference commissioners to do, is to do what's best for their conference. They're not there to do what's best for the entirety of college football. I mean, let's be honest, nobody's looked out for, the G5 schools or the FCS schools and all of this. And I don't think most fans of the major programs wouldn't want our, officials to be doing that per se. They might say we like those schools, yada yada, but at the end of the day, they're not going to sacrifice anything for those schools. I mean, we have to be realistic about that. So how this comes to a conclusion, I don't know, but it seems like the Big Ten is going to stick to their preferred playoff model, and otherwise, won't accept anything else until the SEC makes some sort of change. So I think we might be sitting on, the current playoff structure for a while until something does change. That's just my initial guess. So.
Yeah. Rob, any thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad that it's Cignetti doing this and taking away all of the attention from all of the other stuff. Because quite frankly, Cignetti's about as unbearable as the rest of the IU fans that are out there on Twitter, all 5 of them. And every time I mention anything about IU, they seem to find my account. So good for them. Congratulations. I just, to me, it's just, Cignetti's a perfect reflection of the entire Indiana fan base, from what I can tell, in that, 1 10-win season in their entire history as a football program. And all of a sudden, they're talking trash to us like, oh, you think a big win like we had against them last year would keep this fan base to shut up. 1, welcome to Nebraska fandom, people. And 2, you know what? You're Indiana University. It's like, if you want to talk about irrelevant, I don't even care if you had 1 10-win season. You are irrelevant. You're Indiana University football. Let's talk about your basketball program. Geez, if you guys want to at least join up with Nebraska fans in one way, you'd think that you would know what it would be like to have a lot of success and then, just be absolutely freaking terrible for years after that. All right. Because that's Indiana basketball right now. So. Oh, I'm sorry. I
think Rob hates Indiana more than Dustin does. And
actually,
Dustin grew up in Indiana.
This is just me having you and Dustin's back. How's that? That's the kind of friend I am.
Love it. Look, it's rubbed off on me. I'm a known Indiana hater now. So
it's funny. I had a high school coach. He was my track coach. He was a huge Indiana basketball fan. And as a kid growing up, I just thought that Bobby Knight was like the worst human being in the world. And I felt like, what is wrong with everybody else in this world to think this guy is just so great and everything like that? And then, anyway.
We'll see.
Human nature.
He had an incredible first season. They won a ton of games there. We'll see what happens in year 2 of Cignetti. Mm-hmm. They'll tell you everywhere he's been, he's won, and he's done that at Indiana to date through 1 season. So we'll just see where they go from there. All right, enough Indiana, enough of the national stuff. Let's get on to the Huskers here. And I think a good way of starting this is Coach Rhule talking about something a little, different. Academics, that that these kids these athletes are still going to school. This one kind of blew me away.
I'm proud of all the things that we're doing. We're at a whole different place academically. We're talking. People ask me about rev share. They'll ask me about the playoffs. This is still a place where young people can transform their lives through education, and I think we're doing that at a high level. 3.3 cumulative GPA. I'm proud of all the guys. 86% of our guys are over a 3.0 cum. So we're getting it done in the classroom, and now it's time for us to continue to get it done on the football field.
I wanted to highlight that right away because it's something that gets talked about a lot as we discuss NIL and all the changes that have gone on in football, in college sports. I've heard a lot of people say, you can't call these, they're not amateurs anymore if they're making money. Okay, fine. I mean, we can get into semantics of the words. They can make money and still be student athletes, and they are student athletes making money now. And, a 3.3 cumulative grade point average between 126 football players and 86% of the guys over 3.0. Our podcast, because I'm on it mostly, but our podcast could not claim those numbers. And I mean, that's historically, that's very high there. And I think that was something, it was nice to kind of actually hear that be discussed. Cause I've thought about that in this world of transfers and all this, there's still supposed to be a scholastic side behind this. And how are people graduating on time with all the transfers? Where are we at with on the academics? And I mean, that's really impressive. Abby?
Yeah.
Dr. Abby?
No, it is. No, I don't know. No, I mean, it always is. And I know like people make fun of, I feel like fans sometimes make fun of that part when you talk about like the academic side of it and how impressive that is. And like, whoa, that's all you've got. But that is impressive. If you can get with that number of people, that large amount, to get them all above a 3, which is that a B average? I don't know.
It's almost a flat B average. Yeah.
Okay. Look, for any large group of people, that's really impressive. And I understand that athletes aren't exactly, most of them aren't pre-med and taking that kind of route in college, but it's still just so impressive. And I love that he's highlighting it because I think that it just tracks with everything he's done, where he is obviously the football coach. Like, he's going to hype up his football team, but everything that he's done since he's been here has like also kind of hyped up other aspects. So he constantly talks about how our other athletic programs are doing well. And now it's like, okay, but outside of that, here's the academic side. And so I really like that he seems to take kind of a holistic approach to how he views coaching and his role at the department. So
it shows discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want players to wake up early and make sure that they're working out and not missing that. You want them showing up to class, and you want to make sure that they're doing that side of the piece too. We also have, to his earlier point about the incredible facilities that we have today. We do have incredible facilities, and inside of those facilities are all the life skills and support programs that the players have, and that still matters too. And there are always going to be things that, yes, money is talking more than it ever has before when it comes to recruiting, but there's still going to be moments where it's coming down to two schools are even equal on the money front. And then, okay, so what's the extra things? What are the side things? Oh, you're going to graduate here. You're going to take your classes. You're going to work hard on that. You're going to get developed here. We're going to have facilities. We're going to have saunas and everything that he talked about earlier. Those are still things that can take you over the top and get that player, get that big recruit that you're looking for. And I just think it speaks to the holistic approach that he's taking to the program and building a great program. Boomer, you had the best GPA here. I don't know, actually, Abby, you between you two, you both are probably. I don't know. Were you both like 4.0s?
I don't know.
I know we're Rob and
I mean,
on this.
If I ever got a 3.3, nobody told me. How's that?
No, it's good to see that.
I just didn't apply myself. That's what it was.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, it's good to see that. I mean, like you said, Honky, a lot of this, the whole student athlete thing, everyone puts in quotations these days, especially the student part of it. And as it currently stands, that still is an important part of this whole enterprise. The entire idea of college athletics, it is to go to college for a lot of these players and actually get an education, because most of them aren't going to end up going professional in whatever sport they're playing. That's just the reality of it. Mm-hmm. So it is good to see a coach continue to focus on that. I know our APR has been trending upwards a little bit from the first couple seasons. Rhule's been here, so it's good to see that. I know we've gone up a couple slots in the the APR rankings, and some of that's due to coaching turnover and players leaving and things like that. But seeing us focus on that, especially in an academic heavy conference like the Big Ten, it never hurts to have something like this to trumpet as well. So
and let's not forget, every coach is allowed to trumpet their GPA at the beginning of when they get up there and talk if they'd like. And my guess is again, for anyone that kind of like poo-poos that and goes, oh, who cares? Let's talk football. Well, I'm guessing there's some coaches out there that can't get anywhere close to talking about those kinds of numbers. And I guess my defense when people say, well, you can't call them, amateurs or this or that because they're getting paid. My whole thing, I've always said, you can call them student athletes. That's what that is still the difference. They professional or whatever, they are student athletes, and that says a lot there. So,
well, I mean, Nebraska has a really strong history of academic All-Americans. In fact, I mean, they were the first school across all divisions, I believe it was, to reach the 300 academic All-American mark. Like 10 years
first
ago.
To 100, 200,
the first, and I mean, there's only like 10 schools total that have even crossed the 300 mark, and even in Division I, them and Stanford are the only two schools, I think, or something like that.
No one's close to us.
I mean, and a lot of our academic All-Americans come out of those teams from the 90s, at least from the football side, and it just goes to show you that, like, when you have guys out there that are leaders, not only on the field but also in the classroom, those are the kind of guys where, like, it's showing discipline, and it's showing how smart they are, and those are the things that it takes to have a winning formula. And I mean, it's really, I don't want to say it's as simple as that, but it just might be.
Well, it's about accountability, and Coach Rhule talked about accountability.
Good organizations win because everyone owns the product. Like very rarely on a bad team, when you take over a bad team, do you hear people say, like, you know what, I got to do better. And the reason why I believe that we're about to make the jump that we're going to make is because each and every day, whether it's our administration, whether it's the people around us, no one's saying it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault. Everyone's owning the product. And so, yes, we have to win more. That's the deal. But we came into a program that we knew was going to take a little bit of time to fix, and so I think we're close to fixed.
Okay, so Abby, I am getting the sense here. You got it all off season, but I'm really getting the sense internally. Some of this is anecdotal. I've heard other things too from some folks, but you just get the sense that there is this confidence. I mean, it wasn't a quiet confidence either. I mean, they feel like they are ready as I think we've seen this program be. Not a fake thing. This isn't words before you've done the actions. I mean, they feel like they have the roster. They feel like they have done all the development. They've done all the right things. This team, they're ready to be good now.
I would argue it is a quiet confidence. I think it absolutely, I mean, obviously now he's going to say, like, we have these great athletes. We're ready. All this. You just look at the fact that we haven't gotten any videos in the off season.
That's a good point.
No chasing three, no behind the scenes, none of that, which, like, as a fan, I'm like, oh, anything would have been great to break up the humdrum of summer. But you have to think, like, is some of that because, okay, we did our talking, we did our advertising, essentially. We're here. We're doing it. We don't have to do that now. This isn't the team that has to do that. I've seen that theory kind of floating around, and I think it's true. I mean, we're not doing the same things that we did before, and I think it is because they feel a lot better about this team, and not just because it's year 3, and year 3 is historically really good. It's like you said, you've got players now who are bought in. You've got young kids who are bought in. I just think they're ready to take that step now. They're finally ready. They've seen they can win. They've seen how they can overcome those close losses. And it wasn't just like 6 close losses in a row when all we needed was one win. It was, a win over a rival, a close loss to a rival, and then a big win in a bowl game. I think he sees it. And I think it is kind of a quiet internal, kind of that internal pride, internal confidence that they have.
Yeah, I didn't hear the big statement that was like the brash thing. But it also didn't. It didn't feel quiet to me either. It felt like they are saying it out loud right now that they expect to be really good, and they expect this team to be good. They expect the roster is there, that all the things are there now to be good. There's no guarantees. And Rhule said, he goes, I hear all about, year 3 of Rhule, we're always good. He goes, that doesn't guarantee you anything. So there's no guarantees. But I guess Boomer, when I listened to a lot of the people talking there yesterday, it didn't seem, if they were quiet in the offseason, I agree with you, Abby, they were quiet in the offseason. They're not quiet now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly helps. I think what they're trying to do is kind of set that narrative for the season. They're expecting to be good. You kind of saw the same thing with some of the quotes Raiola, was saying that the ceiling's a national championship for him, and that's kind of one of our longstanding jokes is the ceiling's always undefeated and the floor is not winning. But yeah, kind of a joke, yes, but that's kind of what they're trying to set kind of an early expectations for this season, this team, and they should, in theory, they should have all the pieces together. They've got experienced players. They've got I think, an improved coaching staff. At least on paper, it looks like it's better. Both on offensive coordinator, special teams should be a focus. I mean, we've heard that before. That I'll believe it when I see it, though. So I'm interested in that. And
I believe it right now.
I hope so.
With Eckler, I believe it, but continue.
So we'll see that. And then again, with the schedule this year, on paper, again, this is the time you really want to take advantage of that schedule. It's probably never going to get much easier on paper again. Things can change, but if you look at some of the Big Ten media poll of where teams were projected to finish, we play a lot of the bottom teams in the Big Ten this year. So this is your chance to take advantage of that kind of scheduling. You don't have Ohio State, you don't have Oregon this year, which we do next year. So this is a good chance to take that step and win those games and have that confidence as a team that you can win these sorts of games. And that's what you need to move forward in this. You can't afford another 6 or 7 win season really this year. You need to take those steps, and I think they're trying to express that, and they need to do it this season. So
it does help, Boomer, that we're not at the bottom of the media poll.
Yes, that is nice too. That's a plus. Yeah, definitely a plus. Yeah. So. Yeah, there it is. Honky's got it up there.
But yeah, I agree, dude.
It's favorable. Polls are my favorite.
Yeah, but we play a lot of those the bottom half of that schedule. We see a lot of that. So, granted, we do have Penn State, so that we'll be in Michigan. Remains to be seen how good they're going to be, and then Iowa, USC, always going to be interesting.
Yeah. And we have to do the caveat. I mean, a year ago we were saying, hey, we get to play Indiana, and they're in the bottom 2 or 3. So to Rob's point right there, we had just lambasted earlier the talk of preseason polls, but on paper, this is where I prefer not to even think about the schedule piece of this. I'm just like, are we going to be good or not? Like right away, immediately, I just think of Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is a game that they've been good in recent years, but they've struggled, last year as well. And look, that is going to be a home game there at Arrowhead. There's going to be 60,000 Husker fans there. This is a team that Nebraska needs to beat, and we need to come out of the gate strong. And that, if nothing else, that's something that has hampered Nebraska since the first game of Riley, at the very least, where BYU gets the Hail Mary on us. We have struggled out of the gates on almost every single season over the last decade. And this is a perfect year where you got to come out there and come out strong against a Power 4 team. Indiana's not, Cincinnati. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything at them. I mean, that's a Power 4 team, but Nebraska needs to be able to win that game and come out looking strong. And I think that the confidence comes from having a returning quarterback. I think they're really happy with where they're at with their roster. I think they're really happy with the coaching staff. Coach Rhule talked about that some as well yesterday. I just think they're really happy with where they're at. And to the extent that now we've got to see it, we have to see it week in and week out on the field. That's the thing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's go a little offense here. This is Dylan talking to Hurdat yesterday.
He's done a great job with his body. He's done a great job with his knowledge of the offense, his growth with Glenn Thomas, our quarterback coach, and Dana Holgerson, our OC, his command of the roster of the team.
Having more time with Coach Holgerson, how would you describe your relationship with him and how he's been able to use you to design this offense?
Yeah, I think he's very quarterback friendly. He's going to do what their strengths are, and so I think that's a big advantage. And just always making sure we're in the right play. I think that's where I've taken a step, is making sure that, if we have any bad plays, bad looks, to get us in the right play, and I think that can help us be more successful.
When you reflect on your freshman season, what do you feel like you've seen when you watch games back? Where do you feel like you've learned the most? Where have you grown the most?
I know the fans will love this, but running. Yeah. I'm going to be excited to run a lot more this year. I've been training my butt off to, run and be quicker and faster.
Abby, you mentioned that they didn't have some of the some of the videos over the offseason. I haven't paid as much close attention to social the last couple months, but I don't know. Did they do as many of the weight training videos that they would always do?
No,
Because
we didn't get anything. We
that
got
quiet
nothing this year.
confidence. Well,
Nothing.
yeah, that quiet confidence. Look at Dylan. I mean, Dylan looks physically different. He did all the right things there. I was, certainly within our group last year, I was critical at times. Was he the best QB at the time to be playing? We could make that argument, back and forth. At the end of the day, he played last year, and that only benefits us now. Now we have this returning quarterback that has plenty of film on him, but plenty of film that he can learn from. I love what he talked about, running the ball. That was my biggest critique last year, where there were times that we were not taking what was there, and he's physically got himself to the point where he'll never have to be Tommy Frazier running the football. But can you move the ball? Can you extend drives, get first downs? We saw that. We started to see that more in the second half of the season, and I think we definitely saw a quicker pace of play under Holgorsen. I'm not worried about air raid kind of stuff. I think what the biggest thing that Holgorsen does is eliminate any of the extra thinking that has to be done, or what can we do to simplify and speed things up. You saw that almost instantly in the last 4 games, and there's a comfort level with him. I'm really excited with this offense, and it all starts with the kid that was just talking right there.
Yeah. First of all, Theo, thank you for the kind donation to the show. We really do appreciate that. I know you're a big follower of ours on Twitter. Real quick, he made a comment the other day on Twitter calling me like practically a Buffs fan. I think that's because I live in Colorado. Theo, just so you know, I'm originally from Northern California. So practically a Buffs fan. The closest thing I am to a Buffs fan out here is, well, there's nothing close about it. I would say that I'm actually a UNC Bears fan. I live 1 mile from campus there. And that's about the extent of any of my Colorado fandoms, just to be clear. But as far as Raiola running the ball, look, this offense isn't created for him having to run the ball. I agree with you, Honky, in that there are situations where, like, extending the play or extending, the drive by getting that extra 3 or 4 yards that are in front of him that he should be getting. And you're right. We did see that, especially in the last 2 or 3 games where, he extended those drives. He ran for a few yards to get that first down instead of just trying to throw the ball or make a play that maybe wasn't there. But this isn't the type of offense where we're going to need a quarterback who runs the ball a lot, right? Like, we've got the wide receivers in place, we have the tight ends in place, and hopefully we have the running back room in place where we're going to be able to, make it so that our quarterback doesn't have to run down the field, right? This is going to be more closer to a pro style offense than not, right? Like, this isn't going to be an option offense. This isn't 2 years ago when we had to, have our, have us running the option because our quarterback got hurt at the beginning of the season or just couldn't throw the ball to anybody but the opposing team. Yeah. So, I mean, that's my opinion on it. You know what? I'm glad that Dylan talks about it a little bit, because at least it's going to give other coaches, something to think about when they're game planning for the game, because he does look great. He looks like he's in shape. When people call him the names that they call him on social media, it's disgusting. And this isn't 18, 19-year-old kid that, is out there working his ass off to be in the best shape and be in Division I football shape. He was the best. He's the only true freshman starter in Division I football last year. And so it's one of those things where, are there things that he's going to improve on? Sure. And I mean, his touchdown to interception ratio wasn't great. It was like 13-11. And, but as the season went on, you could see that he was making better decisions overall, for the most part. And so, as far as I'm concerned, like, as a true freshman, those are the mistakes that you kind of want him to make, because you don't learn from being perfect all the time. And I think coming into this season, like you said, the quiet confidence is there for him. And we're going to see some really good things out of this kid for the next 2 years.
Is that fact? He's the only true freshman in all of B1?
No, there were red shirt freshmen that started.
Well, no, I'm not talking about red shirt. I'm talking about all of D1.
I
how
looked last year and I couldn't find an actual true freshman starter.
I think for the whole season he might have been one of the because that
Okay.
Florida quarterback took over a couple games in after what's his bucket from
Was it
Wisconsin
the
got
Washington
hurt.
quarterback took over too at some
Yeah.
point?
Yeah, I think
just
they
mean
took
like
over
for the whole
mid-season,
season.
but for the whole
Yeah.
season, I think he might have been the only one.
And to your point, Rob, that there's going to be freshman mistakes that a QB makes, and they're really hard. They're really hard to live through while it's happening. Like there were times last year, and I'm a forward-thinking guy, so I'm not trying to relitigate last year. There were times where it was hard at the moment, but we benefit from it now. We benefit from all those reps that he took, and he got to see where he was deficient. And I love that he focused there in that interview there. I love that he brought up the legs that I've got to do more. I mean, we're going to play an Arrowhead, and he's where his idol is, where Mahomes plays. And that's exactly the style of QB that, the NFL wants right now. And it's guys that can do enough to move the pocket, that can run with it. I don't expect us to be some option offense with them or anything like that. Now, I brought up the 105 roster here, and partly, I mean, we can look at the QBs here. We can look at the names, but it's that running back room. We have Emmett, and I think we have the best starting running back that this is my opinion right now. I think we have the best starting running back coming into the season that we've had since I'll go back to like the Amir days. Okay. So since 2000, maybe someone could say a Zigbo, I don't know, but I'm just saying, I think that highly of Emmett. So our starter is that good. I think our starter is can be at a Big Ten all conference level. It is literally, what do we have behind him? Where is the depth? And that will be what's interesting there. Isaiah Mosey, the true freshman, came in as a receiver. They said that he's moving over to running back, so he goes into the depth there. Other freshmen, they have Jamarian Parker and Connor Booth. Then you have Mekhi Nelson. He's been with the program for a couple of years. Quentin Ives finally got an opportunity to touch the ball in the bowl game, scored a touchdown. And then there's Vince Genatone. He was the transfer. He's from North Platte originally. Kenneth Williams, I'm not as familiar with him. It's a room that you definitely want to keep Emmett healthy, and yet we can't also be scared to run him. We play in a conference where we constantly play an Iowa or Wisconsin team, it seems like, that are completely willing to run their starter 25, 30 times, and he seems to make it through the year okay. We've got to be willing to do that with Emmett. He's got to be able to be that bell cow. He's that good. And then you hope you have a little bit of luck along the way too, that, you're not getting guys injured. But that running back room, I'm confident that there's talent. I'm confident there's talent behind him. Someone's going to have to step up, one or two guys to fill it out.
What leads to good running backs, Honky? I think that's a pretty obvious thing, and that's our offensive line too, right? I mean, if we're talking offense, I mean, that's where it's all going to start, right there in the trenches.
And wide receivers blocking and tight end, yes.
I mean, and it's like we've got back 9 guys back on the line this year that have 131 starts. Well, 9 guys that with a total of 131 starts between them. That's 9 guys. I don't even want to know.
9 guys.
9 guys. 9 guys. Yeah. And then we've added a couple guys from the transfer portal, and it's, hopefully we've been really unlucky with injuries over the last couple of years. I think that this year will be, hopefully better with just the way that it seems like the weight and the conditioning and everything has been going on. So, I mean, there's hope in that area, because I think we probably have. I will say that confidently we are in the top half of the Big Ten when it comes to offensive lines. How's that?
Well, and we'll talk about that in a second, because Henry Lutovsky talked there. I want to maybe focus a little bit here, and I'll add it back to the stage. The wide receivers and the tight ends. And when you think, let's just go back to the end of last year and Holgorsen stepping into that OC role. And what he's done coaching wise, he made one change, and I'm sure he could have made more if he wanted to. He was in position to be able to demand what he needed if he was going to take the role, and yet he had no problem keeping Satterfield around at tight ends coach, and he likes Sat at tight ends coach. They talked multiple times about Thomas at the quarterback coach. They talked about Raiola going into year 4 of it. Wide receiver wise, he made one change, and he wanted to bring in Shorts, who was with him at Houston, And you think about in this world of transfer portals and all that, where there's less consistency on the team, you don't develop together over the course of years. You really have to manufacture that cohesiveness with players and coaches. And Holgorsen went out and got a wide receivers coach that he's worked with. And you think of the problems we had a year ago with the receivers blocking. When you think of right away when Holgorsen got into this role, and one of his first press conferences, he called it embarrassing how the receivers blocked last year. Like, Rob, I 100% agree with you with the O-line. When we get to that, we'll talk. You got to win in the trenches. We were so bad on the perimeter at times blocking a year ago. And that improvement, what that can do for this run game. And these guys here. And so not only does he bring in the coach that understands that and has coached with them, what does that coach do? He goes out and brings his best wide receiver from Kentucky with him, who already understands all those same standards too. Like, these guys, this receiving core, I see one of the biggest opportunities to improve in the blocking game. I mean, there's plenty of talent to catch balls, and we've got a quarterback who can get them the ball. But what they can do on the perimeter, that is an area that can be a night and day change from where we were at a year ago. And that's the run game right there. Yeah. Let's get to the offensive line here, and let's listen to Henry Lutovsky.
As a group, I think our mindset is, put it on us. I mean, when it's 3rd and 10 and we need to pass protect, like, you can trust that, we're going to do our jobs. When it's 4th and 1 and we need, 12 inches, put it on us. We got it.
Just to the room, but to the team. I mean, having guys that come from such successful programs as Notre Dame and Alabama, I mean, 6 months ago, Rocco was playing in the game that we're trying to get to. So just being able to hear his opinions and his voice on things, and just his understanding of, hey, here's how we should be in the locker room, here's how we should be in practice. You just add such valuable insight to the entire team.
6 months ago, listening to Rocco Spindler, transfer from Notre Dame, talking about playing in the national championship game, the game that we want to play in. Right there, that quiet confidence isn't so quiet. Now, it's not boisterous. He's not, making big statements, but it's just, that's that confidence that I'm talking about. You can sense it from him. Now, I've heard some people, and I've seen some things on social media talking about, what does that say that we have transfers like Rocco and Elijah Pritchett just come in and start right away? Does that mean? Is that say something about the rest of the line? Well, what it would tell me is that we have a starter that's played for 5 years at Notre Dame and was just in a national championship, and the other guy was at Alabama. We brought in really good players, but I would also look at a guy like Henry Lutovsky, and if anyone out there is concerned about development of players, that's a guy who's been in this program for 5 years and is finally getting his first chance to really be a game in and game out starter. Think of what this offensive line, and I'll bring it up here again on the page. When you look at this offensive line, Evans is a solid center. He's your solid starter there. And then you have Lutovsky and Spindler at your guards. Pritchett really becomes the solid left tackle that I'm not sure the last time we've had someone coming into the season that has it solidified this early. And then it's at that right tackle spot where, because of injuries, Rob, you mentioned earlier, because of injuries, Gatula ended up playing 7, 8, 9 starts last year, and that wasn't expected. And he's going for that right tackle spot. And behind him right now with that is Corcoran and Prohaska, who are still back and have played just countless numbers of games. That's a starting 5 with those two guys, Prohaska and Corcoran. If you can get one season out of the two of them combined, that is a whole lot of depth and experience right behind that. And that's not even talking about other players like Tyler Knack, who've been in the program for a couple of years. It's not talking about, Brock Knudsen, Sam Sledge, who've been in the program for a few years now. Grant Bricks is probably still about a year or so away. But the point is, they have developed, and they've got so many names and numbers there. So, Rob, this is the perfect time. You mentioned it earlier, talking about the O-line. This O-line is as strong as we've had on the roster coming into a season since we've done the Redcast, at the very least.
Yeah. I said it before. Last year they averaged 131 yards rushing. They did allow 28 sacks. Again, there was a lot of injuries. But yeah, they've got 9 guys coming back. 9 guys, Abby.
Well,
9 guys.
And that's
Nine
and that's the
guys
thing with stats.
131 starts.
And that's the thing with stats, Rob.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
It's just
sacks and rushing yards. I'll go back to, you want to improve some of the rushing yards a year ago. I would go to the exterior of the, you know, on the perimeter blocking and say there were a lot of missed yards that could have been there that we missed outside of the tackles. Not that I'm not trying to, I am a line defender.
And you add someone, you know, like Harburg on the outside there, who's got the size and the athleticism and everything to not only just be a good tight end, but he can also make those blocks, you know. And if anybody knows about the importance of a quarterback being blocked for, I mean, you know, he played in that position. So I think, you know, he's got to at least have, you know, the respect and understanding that somebody on that position is going to need to have too. And I mean, it's not going to hurt him too to make a few blocks out there and then maybe release and catch a short ball and run it for, you know, 60 yards for a touchdown. I mean, there's a million different things that we could be doing.
And the sacks a year ago, the sacks number, that some of that can certainly be thrown on the O-line. I tend to defend the O-line more times than not in season.
Some of that could just be
because
Raiola holding onto the ball.
That's exactly it. A lot of times the O-line gets all the blame when something doesn't go right.
Yeah.
And having a QB that has a little bit more mobility, having a QB who's not thinking as much and getting rid of the ball quickly, having, you know, there's a lot of things that go into that.
Quarterback who's a true freshman who's, you know.
Absolutely. And
I mean, because we noticed the end of the season, it wasn't happening as much, right? I mean, there was that he played much better. He was releasing the ball a lot faster. He was making, you know, he was making his reads a lot quicker. And I think we can only expect to see a lot more of that. And so the offensive line is going to look even better in that regard. So
absolutely. They make each other look better. And that's the thing. That the O-line will make a mistake on some play this year, and Raiola is going to make a play with his legs, you know, move the pocket and complete.
Maybe he'll make a sidearm throw or a jump throw or something, and
help each other out, guys.
That, like, he can't get over trying to be Patrick Mahomes, but it'll like win the game. So I mean, you know, whatever, we win some, we won't lose any. 16-0.
Yeah. And if anything, and Abby, I'll go back to what I said earlier, like that quiet confidence, or maybe not so quiet. He just seems really confident with these guys that have come together. Some of them transfers, some of these guys that have been in the program for years. But I mean, if you need 1 yard on 4th and 1, we've got to be able to get it. And on 3rd and 10, we're going to keep the quarterback clean. He just really sounds like he's got that confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, let me just, like, when I say quiet confidence, what I mean is even that. So like, I think you're right. Like that's a bold statement. That is a confident statement of like, that's where we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like, I guess my feeling on it is it's not the Cignetti, people pick us last and F them and we're so Google me, I'm great. Like that's loud confidence, right? Yeah. So to me, what the program has done, and this is media days is when they should be doing it. But even when they say that, it's just like, yeah, I mean, we want to get to a national championship. It's almost it's almost a throwaway line, because the point is like, we listen to this guy. He was there. Yeah, we want to get there, but we listen to this guy. And so I find that so much, it's so boring, and that's great. And so that's when I say quiet, that's what I mean. Like it's there. Yeah. That confidence is clearly there, but they're not like, Dylan's not shouting about being an MVP. He even like kind of downplays himself to be like, what can we do about the team? And to me, that kind of talk is what is that kind of scary, to use PJ Fleck's words, like kind of a scary confidence that we have.
It's saying something out loud without being loud. Yeah. It's not quiet because you're saying it, but it's also not being loud there. No, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I think Boomer, on your end of this, just from talking with you over the years, I think you've got to love right now that consistency of message from players. Coach Rhule talked about how, you know, he went out to dinner with the guys the night before it, and they basically said, Coach, you don't even have to show up for this. You know, we've got it. We can do all the talking. And it's because there is this consistency of message. And I know you've touched on that for so many years. So did Dave, you know, on the show, about when we lacked that clarity of message and in past regimes and past times. Now that we really have it, where there's one message, it's very consistent. It's not boisterous, but it's confident. I mean, I guess it's making me feel good as a fan right now. It's making me feel confident.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want out of any sort of organization, you know, whether it's a business, corporation, football team, whatever. You want everyone to understand what the goal is and what the message is and buy into it. And that's what you're getting. And, you know, And I'm thinking of a quote that Rhule just had, when he was talking the other day about how, he shows up to practice and events and he doesn't even know what he's doing there sometimes because he doesn't need to be there because you've got other coaches that know their roles and are taking care of everything. So he can kind of be that CEO guy who's just there to do these kind of pressers and, be that sort of, liaison between the public and the team because they're all focused in, they know what they need to do. They bought into it. And if you take any management class, if you look at anything, that's what you want. You need everyone to buy in. You need everyone to understand what they're doing, the goal, what their role is, and how they partake in it. And that's a sign of a good, healthy organization. So that should give you some confidence, going forward in this season. So,
yeah. No, absolutely. Brett says Ja'Cory Barney, absolutely, man. Ja'Cory, what he brings back to from last season, not just the catches. When we talk about running the ball, you see how you go back and look at his stats last year. How many runs did he get? How creative can they get? How many different ways can they be creative in getting the ball into guys' hands in different ways? You mentioned Harburg earlier, Rob, and I think of tight end, the tight end that was at Penn State last year, and won the Mackey Award, and the guy was a former quarterback. Get creative, find ways to get guys the ball in different ways. Ja'Cory is definitely one of those. Red Wine here. He says. I think this is receivers, not recipes, but could be recipes. If our receivers can't catch again, they at least need to block. So Emmett takes it all the way. I certainly can agree there. And then Tony says, just going to throw this out there. Both Emmett and Quentin Ives won back-to-back Heismans in his NCAA 26 dynasty. I mean, I think
you can book it now. You go place your bets. Yeah.
That's some quiet confidence right there. We're going to finish up here talking some defense. We're not going to get to special teams. They really didn't talk about that. And I know, Boomer, you'll love it. We'll have a great opportunity. When Eckler gets on for one of these pressers, we will do a full special team show. And, Boomer, you're going to love it. I've told you guys for years.
I have notes on special team, too.
I went to coaches' clinics for 20 years from Solich to Frost in the spring. And one of I'd probably top 2 or 3 favorite coaches during that all the different 10 years of staffs that we had. Mike Eckler is incredible. And I'm ecstatic. I was going to be ecstatic if we could get
Only
Bill
way
Bush
to go
back.
is up, Honky. With our
I was ecstatic. I wanted Bill Bush. If you remember about 10 months ago, I wanted him at special teams coach. I never thought we'd get Eckler. We got the one coach that gets me more excited than if we would have had Bush back there coaching it. So
thanks, Will Compton.
Yeah. So yes, thank you, Will Compton. All right, here's defense, Deshaun Singleton.
Eliminating big plays, that's nothing but eliminating missed tackles, eliminating missed assignments. You know what I'm saying? And winning your one-on-ones. That's how you eliminate big plays. So that has a lot to do with film study. That has a lot to do with practice habits. And that just has a lot to do with dog. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel like we have a lot of dogs on this team, man, and I'm excited.
What gives this group the confidence to say that this is the mentality this year?
Because why not have the confidence? If you don't have confidence, you might well not even step on the field. So just like any athlete here, we all want one thing. I wouldn't trust nobody that don't want nothing more than what he got. I want a championship. I'm very excited. I can't wait to hear the fans. I want that stadium rocking. I'm challenging the fans now. I got to make that stadium shake.
Okay, I'm challenging you, Deshaun. Make us make it shake too. This has never been an issue with fans not being loud and making things shake. We got to win games. But I love the confidence there. I love that consistency of message. And at the end of the day, what Coach Rhule does, and Coach Rhule, he snuck this in one of the things he said, and he goes, the players that he's a players coach and they like him, but he goes, they don't always like me. I mean, his practices are as physical in today's age, and we've cut a lot of hitting out of practices, and we put pads on guys' helmets and all those things. But if you want to watch a physical practice in today's college football, go watch Nebraska practice with Coach Rhule. And you want to see a good defense, Bill Bush, I mentioned him earlier. He showed the difference between tackling in practice and not tackling right away, how much improvement you can get in that. This defense is going to be physical. They practice hard. And that's how you're going to eliminate those mistakes. And they've really, this has not been a mistake-driven defense here anyways the last couple of years, but there's room to improve. And you can just sense it. And this is a perfect example that what Deshaun's in his 5th, 6th year. This is a guy that's been around now. Excited to see Butler at DC and excited to see Coach Snow with him. There's a lot of brain trust in that room. I think we're going to see improvement on the defense, and that's from 2 years of really good defense the last couple of years under White.
Yeah, it's kind of a bold statement, especially given the defensive line that we had the last couple of seasons. Yeah. That's the big question for me is, will they be able to maintain that? And I know, Rhule talked about that. He was expecting it to be, gosh, I can't remember what the terminology he used. Was it like hell on wheels or something like that? I think he mentioned that. So, yeah, that's the big question. Will guys like Riley Van Poppel and stuff be able to step up and fill the roles, Ty Robinson, Nash Hutmacher on that? So,
yep.
Because, that was I comment constantly when these last couple seasons when it would be 4th and short or 3rd and short, teams would try to run straight up the middle on us. Have you watched no film on Nebraska football over the last 2 seasons? That never works. Why do you keep trying it? And is this line going to be able to keep that going? That's what I want to see. That's one of my big questions going forward. Are they going to be able to keep doing that? Because that can win you a heck of a lot of games if you're able to do that. So.
Well, it's pretty interesting too, because you look at the roster that we have right now, and right now, I mean, overall, there, according to this site, the On3 site, there's 126 guys right now on the roster, and we need to cut it down to 125. But you look.
No, you're not. There is no. I don't think we have.
Oh, they're cutting it back now. Is that?
It was 105 is what they were supposed to cut to, but then the rule came in that you just grandfather in so that. It will eventually go down to 105 by we think it will eventually go down to 105 by 2029.
Okay, I've not even tried to keep up with that because quite frankly it seemed like it was changing every other day. So good. So 126 players on our team right now, on our roster. 20% of those are in the defensive back room. There are 25 guys in the DB room right now. There are 3 redshirt freshmen, true freshmen up on there. But I mean, that to me is like, it's showing that, in the defensive line, I think there's something like another 20 guys on there. So you're looking at like almost, well over a quarter, almost closer to, a third of our roster is defensive line and linebackers defensive or linebackers. Robert, English, do you speak it? Linebackers and defensive backs alone. There's, that many guys out there. And, given, last year, their propensity to just, switch guys up, substitute a lot, move guys around. I mean, this is exactly the sort of thing that you want to see when they're building a roster.
When you're in a 3-3-5 defense, and they could be doing, we could be playing 2 jacks and running a 3-4 essentially this year. I mean, we could do it'll be interesting to see schematically. Tony White's not the guy anymore, and Butler's going to bring some of his own thoughts to this. Also, Phil Snow has been a long-time defensive coordinator. I mean, Williams, our new DB's coach from UCF, was the defensive coordinator there a year ago. The amount of experience that this staff has seemingly immediately so. I mean, I don't want to jump too fast away from the roster here, but I am really impressed. Coach Rhule, what he's done with his staff over the course of 2 years, like he came in here and you could look back now 2 years ago and go, geez, that staff, he was stretching. He came in the Big 12 and thought he could just have a high school coach. He thought he could just get a young guy to coach receivers and all that. And I get it because he did it before and he made it work. But he pretty quickly shifted here, and all of a sudden you look at some of the subtle changes. There's some guys that have been on the staff, Dvorak and Raiola, and guys that have been on for a while. But what he's done specifically with Snow and Butler, there are some, and Williams, there is some real brain trust in this room. As I look at the defensive line here, Van Poppel and Boomer, someone posted just something there about RVP. Van Poppel is a great example in today's world where this is a fifth, he'll be a third-year guy, but this is that slow development. They redshirted him in year 2 versus year 1, and that's that's kind of ballsy. A lot of people aren't going to do that. We have Williams Noari here from Missouri who redshirted a year ago at Missouri and then transferred right afterwards. A lot of coaches are you're going to be willing to do that, but Van Poppel, we benefit from that now here. And I agree with what Bob's saying here that he says that Van Poppel will be better than Ty. Those are big shoes to fill. But Van Poppel's that guy, I think he's going to have an absolute breakout season. And the other one is Elijah Judy being in year 3 here. Those two guys, they have to your point, Boomer, they have to be able to fill in the way that Nash and Ty did. I think the world of Nash and Ty, we can't be afraid of losing good players moving forward. If you want to be this great program, you're going to lose players that are going to go pro, and you've got to be able to have the next line up there. And between Elijah and Riley, we've got two starters that are two big body guys on the line, and then it's going to be does Lefotu step up into one of those roles? Does obviously Nawari there. I mean, on the D end and Lenhart coming back. Lenhart needs to take a big step there. He had a bit of a sophomore slump, and so, but I think that the talent, that there's certainly numbers there in that room, and it all comes down to we want to get creative. We want to be blitzing and all this stuff. You have to earn the right to blitz. You have to earn the right to do all the fun things on second and third down by stopping them on first down and not making it 2nd and 1. If you're in 2nd and 1 and 3rd and short, you all that blitzing, all that stuff goes away. You can't do it. And so get creative there once you've stopped the run on first down. But yeah, you're right, Rob. There's a lot of players here at linebacker, DB. As we go through the preseason, we'll actually have positional breakdowns and stuff. It's hard to go through all these numbers. I mean, there's 25 defensive backs. There's 20 linebackers.
20 linebackers, and then I think on defensive line, there's another 20 guys there too. Or
18 defensive linemen.
And what's interesting to me, I mean, if we just want to look at the roster overall, there's 34 juniors and seniors. That's it on that roster. 126 players, only 34 of them are juniors and seniors. The rest are all either sophomores, redshirt freshmen, or true freshmen.
Yeah.
So,
now some of those sophomores are third year sophomores.
Yeah, but too, 19 of those players there too are all returning starters as well. So it's not like the depth that you have always, I say you as like Husker fans have always craved, is starting to develop there on this team, and you're going to start to see a lot more of it. And it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, we're kind of in a position now moving forward this year and moving forward where the guys we bring in for the transfer portal are going to be impact players. Hopefully, they're going to be the kind of guys that you're going to only need for like a season or two, AKA free agents per se, because of the way that we're paying kids now, and then hopefully we'll also see a lot of these younger kids understand that coming into this program, they're going to develop for the first year or two, but when they get on the field, they're going to contribute.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to be. And
Gatula did a really good job of talking about that he wasn't expecting to play last year, and then injuries happened and he had to play. So, for any of these 18 and 19-year-old kids, and I'm still going to call them kids there, and they come in here and they want to play right away. Most of you aren't, and there still is a room to be patient.
Yeah.
And I think Coach Rhule, where I've seen so much success in him, he has not had mass defections of players in a time where a lot of players do. And then I look at the linebacking core right now, and when Bayer left last year and transferred to Missouri, and we all questioned that, and now he's not even at Missouri anymore. I bet he's wishing he was back here. And yet what this staff did is they were able to take, really what could have been a devastating loss. I like Bear. I thought he was going to be he had been a great linebacker to have back. They went out and they got in the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year and Marquise Watson Trent, who played at Georgia Southern and was on the team when they beat us here. And so, this staff, their ability to adjust and adapt to changes, it's really impressive. There's a lot of young talent out there, but there's a lot of guys that played a lot of football that are back too. I get the quiet or not so quiet confidence. Maybe that's what the title of the show could have been, Abby, is, but it is, I think it's all pointed in the right direction. And I, who was it? PJ today said some very nice things about Coach Rhule, and basically said that, we're the program that, maybe is the quiet program that people should be talking about as Nebraska. I know it's PJ, but I will also say I don't think he's wrong. And I think it's in the right spot. I think people realize what Coach Rhule can do.
He's playing head games with us, Honky. He's playing head games.
Well, that's all right. I mean, he can play it with us. Is he going to play with Coach Rhule?
He's won like 5 in a row, so I'm not going to give him too much crap. So
Well, yeah, but again, I think Coach Rhule always talks about it. It's like none of that matters as you move forward. None of that matters. Coach Rhule wasn't here for all 5 of those. And so, at the end of the day, I like where we're at right now with the roster. I like where we're at with this coaching staff, and ready to get the practices started and start actually watching some real football here. So,
wouldn't that be something?
all right, I think that's pretty good for a first show back.
Can I ask? Go right ahead.
Well, let's get into parting shots here, Rob, and I'll let you go first, and you can ask your question and then give your parting shot while you're at it.
Well, my question was just going to be, before we start getting too deep into rosters, things like that, who does everyone think is going to be their one player that they're most looking forward to maybe seeing make an impact this year? Quietly, maybe not a lot of people are talking about. But we can do that another time if we want. My parting shot's just gonna be, it's good to be back. I mean, the yesterday's press conference, I was just sitting there kind of cringing because I'm so used to like people just taking things away from it, waiting for like Paul Feinbaum to like make some kind of ESPN show about whatever it is that our coach said. I mean, outside of, the reply that, God, such professional reply that he gave to the question about Frost comments. There was nothing. It was just an average, boring press conference from a Nebraska coach who sounded like he's just ready to get the season started as much as we are.
I agree. Abby, your parting shot.
It's not football related. Sorry.
Go for it.
National Player of the Year nominations are starting to roll out for volleyball, and Nebraska has 3 right now in Andy Jackson, Harper Murray, and Bergen Riley. And that's so far, until we see what tomorrow's are, the most from any one school. So, it's going to be a really fun season. I know. I'm sorry. It's a fall sport. We get to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about another season with some quiet confidence. We'll see. They're pretty loud, but we'll see. And excited to start the new Rhule era, year 3, and the DBK era.
DBK sounds like some K-pop band. I don't know. It's so weird to like say DBK.
We could say it when. I will say when we went to the national championship game and we left. I don't know if I told you this. We were leaving, and the girls behind us were clearly from Kentucky, and we would get this like, well, I don't understand why Danny had to do that. And so Dustin and I can't say DBK. We all just call her Danny, and it sounds more and more like Forrest Gump. So
yeah, I was gonna say that's got some serious Forrest Gump vibes.
It was a thick accent. Those girls were Kentucky girls. It was great. It was hilarious, but no. So she's DBK.
Boomer.
Well, don't have too much more to add. I'll just save my information on New Hampshire deep snappers and, Pro Kick Australia and barracking for AFL squads for a different show. So, we'll just we'll leave that as a cliffhanger. So,
yeah.
Just didn't have time.
Yeah, just not time, I guess. Yeah, just no time.
Well, we want to dedicate the right amount of time. We don't want to we don't want to push it to the very end, Boomer. Special teams.
Eckler would appreciate that.
We need to start a show talking special teams right off the bat. And I think that
when I did the Inside the Pylon podcast a couple of weeks ago, we literally talked special teams for the first 15 minutes of the show. It was fantastic.
It's a good way of doing it. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot right now. I hadn't really thought about parting shots. I was just trying to put some of this together. But there was one video I saw, or a photo from the other day, and it was Hoiberg ball. They were, doing some off-season practices, and Rink Mast was out there shooting a ball. And I was like, that is so cool to see him healthy out there again. And you can see the scar on the knee and everything, but he's out there. He's healthy. And that's a team when I think about all the guys that are back, and they bring back Jamarcus Lawrence, and I'm like, holy smokes, and you still have Sam around, and there's a core of a team that played 2 years ago in the tournament that all of a sudden is back and playing with them, and there's some talent that they brought in, a bunch of shooters. And then I start thinking about what the women's team could look like, and I think about Geordie ball and softball, and I'm not even talking volleyball right now, and it just gets me excited. We had a couple shows towards the end of last season of sports season of how good that was for a year for Husker athletics. And man, I look forward and I can see some we can be sniffing national championships in a number of sports, and you just got to get the right bounce here or there. So this is very exciting time here. Redcasters, Husker Nation, be positive, be supportive of these sports, of the athletes, of the coaches here. And I'll tell you what, Deshaun Singleton wanted us to show up and be loud. He's going to get that Arrowhead Stadium 1 month from now. There is going to be an overflow of Husker fans in Kansas City. It should be crazy. So anyway, so Abby, you'll be there. Rob, you'll be there. I'm going to be there. Redcast Nation, we hope to see you there too. Thank you so much for all the folks that have been sticking around here for an hour and a half on a Wednesday night to watch this. Really appreciate the support of Husker Nation. We'll be back here next week to do a volleyball show, Abby, 2 weeks from now with Mac and I doing the Pick Six previews, and we'll go from there. But until the next time, that's another Go Big Redcast.
Go Big Red.
Here we are.
A Herd at Sports Network production.